paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe, and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, yeah, it's all right, refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And yes,
I don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
What, are you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
Well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the most metal magic podcast you have ever heard of. It's Brainstorm Brewery, and it is time for the Kaldheim Set review. And we are going to do it metal. Did I get that right? Is that the ethos of the set?
Only if we sacrifice you to a higher god.
Yeah, the way you say it
see
with your lack of enthusiasm for metal is, I don't know, you're not really doing justice to the music. It's like, hey, y'all.
Yeah, I don't think I could do a very good
I love
metal
Taylor
scream.
Swift and Brad Paisley, and we're going to talk about metal, y'all.
Not screaming
Corbin,
even a little
can you
bit.
please stick out your tongue and do the horns with both hands for the YouTube viewers?
What is like this? Is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like this? Is this what you want to DJ?
It's like that, the bolus horns.
That seems right to me. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that voice you hear, everybody, is our guest this week. It is Pro Tour champion Gregory Orange, the citrus assassin himself. Greg, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. How are you?
Pretty good. So, for those who don't know, you have been, a high-level Magic player for a really long time. You're a member of the Rivals League. You won Pro Tour 25th anniversary, which most people will remember as the crazy beta draft Pro Tour. So you've really kind of done it all, so to speak, in Magic to this point. So we're glad to have you on.
Yeah, well, glad to be here, I suppose. I don't know. Sounds
Yeah,
sweet.
absolutely. Well, before we launch into the set review, and for those who don't know the Kaldheim Set review, we're going to do like the others we have done in the recent past. We talk about the cards we like. We talk about their financial applications and where things might go from there. So before we launch into that, Greg, for people who like what you have to say and want to hear more of it, where can people find you across the internet as far as content or social media or anything like that?
Well, I guess I don't know, I have a Twitter account that I use occasionally. I believe it's orange_Greg, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a Twitch account that I also use occasionally as just Citrus Assassin. So I don't know.
Do you have you been streaming the league weekends for the Rivals League?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, those have been a lot of fun. So if anybody wants to check that out next time, those come around, you can watch Greg play in that. So let's get into Kaldheim here. We'll launch right into it. It's a set review. We know how these can go.
Well, why don't we talk about the absolute ceiling for these cards? Because I have a trivia question for everybody.
I'd love to hear it.
What is Showcase Lotus Cobra, Showcase Amiria's Call, Showcase Morog, Fury of Akum, Leyline Tyrant, Glasspool Mimic Showcase, Riverglide Pathway Showcase, and Angel of Destiny, the Mythic from Zendikar Rising? What do they all have in common?
Besides being from Zendikar Rising, I'm guessing that's not the answer you're looking for.
That's not the answer. They are all currently worth less than $5.
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah.
Oof.
Leyline Tyrant's the only one in that pile that I think should be more. The rest are whatever.
Really?
The steal of a deal.
Yeah.
The
You think
modal
Showcase
DFCs to
Lotus
me-
Cobra should be $2? I don't know.
No way.
Prices are kind of trash right now. Set foils are worth less than set non-foils. Like everything just tanked. And I realize people aren't really playing, a ton of paper Magic, but like people are playing EDH, and like EDH cards aren't worth a ton.
Well,
there are
it's
only 20 cards in the set worth more than $5, and like half of them are just showcase versions of each other, like Ancient.
Well,
Green
that's what I
Warden
was
and
gonna
Ancient
say.
Green Warden extended art, stuff like that. So it's rough out there. If you're paying like $100 for a booster box, and then like the most expensive card in the set is $16, it's rough.
This isn't like
Rough out
new
there.
territory though. That happens with Magic card sets.
It's just worse because of collector's boosters. It happens quicker.
Yeah.
Right.
It's basically been every collector booster set starting with Throne. It's just prices are trash. So we used to be like, hey, let's do
but, like,
5
that's-
under 5, but like the whole set's under 5. So any card in the set is a 5 under 5 pick because it's under 5. And it'll
Well,
stay under
here's the
5.
question
In a
then.
year it'll be under 5.
Yeah,
before we
well,
get into the
that's
specific
what I
cards,
agree
and
with,
I
is
want to
the-
start. I want to start with this with you guys. Do you think that people? Do you think that there is an upside, whether that's a year, 3 years, 5 years, whatever, for cards under $5 in this set, or foils, or anything like that, or is it moving forward? All like we've talked about in the past, is all that we care about showcase versions of cards and collector boosters?
I mean,
From a
all I
finance
care
standpoint?
about is like, because with new cards, it's more about churn than
Right.
and volume than prediction and trying to buy right at the
Yeah,
right
but just
time.
for people who are thinking about buying a booster box of this, right? I mean, should
Well,
they?
don't that's like, why would you buy a booster box or something? The only reasons you should buy a booster box or something is if
They're
you're
fun.
like knowingly like throwing money at a casino. Like you have
Yeah.
to accept that you're gambling and like losing a bunch of money,
Oh, you just have. Well, I'm saying
or
some-
drafting.
Not,
Paying
yeah, not
$10
everyone is.
for a lottery scratcher where the jackpot is $20.
Yeah, but my point was more for people who want to play with these cards, want to maybe draft these cards, or want to get some of them for EDH,
Buy
and
singles.
like to open a box. So
Then
it's,
buy $100 worth of singles when every card is worthless.
yeah, I think I do tend to agree with DJ on that. It's just
I'm
that
I'm the fun police here, but like,
Yeah,
I get that,
yeah.
but it's the salty pill of truth.
well, it's just the way it is with the collector boosters now. That experience you could previously get has been shifted to collector boosters. Collector boosters have depressed the value of things, and I'm really interested to see what a set like Ikoria or BFZ, especially with some of those
it's blurring
lands
the
looks
lines
like.
between rarities too. Balagad Recovery costs the exact same amount of money as Bright Climb Pathway right now. Like it's blurring the lines between common and rare and uncommon. Like
Rare is the new
It's,
uncommon, you might say.
what a throwback to a 2011 brainstormbrewery.com article.
Yeah, it was.
So I don't know. It's real weird. Like this set is gonna make a bunch of old stuff worth money because like, hey, snow is a thing again, and so are dwarves, and so is bottomless pit. But I don't know about the individual cards themselves, whether they matter at all. So with that in mind, let's talk about their prices and pretend they matter.
Ooh.
Well, let's talk about. We have to start here. For those who don't know, Greg is famous for. Well, famous is a word. I would say Greg is notorious for making my GP rounds go right up to the timer before he kills people with blue-white control.
Well, I try.
It must be a good time right now. There's a lot of formats you can play blue-white in, right?
I mean, if you try hard enough, you can do whatever
Well,
you want, I suppose.
let's start then with the Wrath in honor of those decks I've seen you play for so many years. Doomscar is a 5-mana destroy all creatures sorcery speed white Wrath. However, it has a foretell cost where you can pay 2 and then 3 mana later on to Wrath it. What do we think about this variant of a Wrath? A turn 3 Wrath sometimes.
I mean, I don't know, it seems really nice to me.
Do you see yourself, how do you see the use of this card being to foretell it on turn 2 and then your opponent gets to play around it the whole time? Or do you think that it's just a 5-mana Wrath that occasionally has upside?
I mean, foretelling it seems particularly sweet if you're playing other cards that could also foretell, I suppose. I don't know, maybe you could be in a situation where your opponent has to think about what your foretell card is. That would probably be ideal.
That is true, actually.
This
I
mechanic
don't know.
is sweet. We haven't talked about
Yeah.
that, but this mechanic is super good from a design standpoint.
I love it. What do you like best about it, DJ?
I like the fact that it presses people for game knowledge at a competitive level. So, like, it's just like Greg was saying, like, you can force your opponent to think about every card in this. Like, it's one of the reasons Morph is, like, one of the best mechanics ever, right? You force people to expand their game knowledge about the cards in the set and the options that can be provided with, like, a limited card pool, but still a large enough card pool to provide variety. So when you foretell something on turn 2, your opponent has to make, like, a mental checklist of and like perform a hand read from like a poker standpoint of like, oh, this could be the Wrath. What are the odds of it being the Wrath? Or like the weird removal spell, or the other card that has foretell. Well, oh, what's the name
like
of
the
that?
draw
Like,
two of some kind, right?
I mean, I don't
remember
even
what it's
know the
called.
name of the cards, the name of the cards that I'm like implying exist, but like that's the point, right? Is like it
Right.
presses your opponent. Like if
Yeah.
I was sitting across the table from you, Greg, and you played this
Yeah.
foretell card, like I have to suddenly be like, okay, what's the hand read here? That's a really good game design.
I mean, it's like, and I believe there's like a Glimmer of Genius type foretell card. I don't
That
remember
seems
what it's
strong.
called, but I mean that card is particularly interesting because if they could have the Wrath or the draw two, like if you play your thing, it could be a Wrath. If you don't, they could draw two. So
And
That
you
is,
can,
I think, really interesting.
You can also just like bluff with it. Like if your opponent has like X creatures, then you foretell it and say go, and you like you ask them to like you ask them to like, okay, are you gonna play into this? Is this a Wrath, or am I just putting a blank card face down and you don't want to extend into it? Like it's super good.
It's interesting because this is only works if there are enough playable foretell cards that do different things for that
Yes.
mechanic to matter.
Yes,
but
that
there
is-
is a counter spell for it, so I think we're okay.
Well,
Okay.
it wasn't just blue getting counter spells. Red gets counter spells too. What?
ooh,
It's a goofy set, man.
are you gonna
It is.
talk about that Emrakul deck now?
Oh, is there like a polymorph deck with this?
Yeah, I think like Frank Karsten tweeted it out. It's just like a deck that's just that card, Cascades, or like a few Cascade spells and Emrakul.
That's. I mean, that sounds like a future mining modern deck to me. That sounds like fun. Leave it to Frank to put that deck together. I hadn't seen that. That's great.
I'm sure that'll be a fun deck to play against or play in modern, whatever.
They're trying to redeem Tybalt here. That's what this is with Tybalt Trickery.
Like
Well,
the
it's a
old-
$7. It's a $7 card. I look. We got it out of the way up front. What we think about the prices of this set, but with Tybalt's Trickery, where do you see that card kind of settling? You know, do you think it's a long-term dollar type Chaos Orb effect, or is this one of the better cards in the set?
I think dollar type Chaos Warp effect sounds accurate. It's like the price graph of polymorph. I think it's just like this niche thing that people will still buy as a for casual decks, and people will want to build their janky version of it for F&M. I could be wrong about it. Like, is this competitive playable? I don't. Is it?
I mean, I don't know. The Emrakul deck is some
Frankie
sort of
Number
cheese
says-
deck that you might have to play against at some point. I don't know if it.
I mean that about surmises my expectation. Like playable
pretty
deck
much.
you might have to play against at some point was about where I was headed. So I'm glad to hear my assessments there.
All right,
Yeah.
let's go to the card at the top of everything. I guess the Vorinclex Monstrous Raider. It's a 6/6 for 6 trample haste. If you would put one or more counters on a permanent or player, put that many. I'm sorry, I'm trying to put twice that many. And if opponent would get counters, put half that many. So Vorinclex does a lot of stuff, mainly with counters, but more than anything, it reveals the return of the Phyrexians. But I mean, this card is $40 pre-selling right now, market price. So is it what's driving the price? Is this a playable card that we think is going to be good and that's why it's expensive? Is it an EDH busted rare? Is it just a collectible Phyrexian thing?
I mean, it doesn't seem super exciting to me, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
the only case I could come up with was Carnage Tyrant, right? Like of the last 6 mana green dork that wasn't Primeval Titan that saw play.
That one had a hexproof.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, that format was also probably not as powerful as current standard either.
That is
suppose.
definitely true. I mean,
It's a boring EDH deck.
well,
that,
yeah, so it's not
like,
EDH then
It's
either
like the
that's making it.
sixth or seventh most built deck right now, but like it's all just big dumb green stuff.
I honestly was shocked to see that it was so much money, that it was not just the most expensive card, but so much the most expensive.
This card is going to sell very, 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 very well for casual players. But I agree that I don't think it's a constructed playable card.
It's a $15 card.
I'm all about
I'd say
this.
15 to 20 is my guess. I think this card seems
Okay.
like it'll sell well at 20 to me.
I'm all about this $200 Phyrexian art foil. That's what I need. I agree with you, though. It's kind of crazy to see it be this much money. Even though, obviously, it kind of had to go somewhere. Doesn't make a lot of sense. All right, well, next up...
Oh, wait,
Corbin,
wait.
there's one pre-sale on TCG Player right now for the Phyrexian foil, and it's $450.
What a
All right.
steal.
A little
Corbin,
more than 200.
Can we shift into a lore podcast for like 30 seconds to 30 minutes or so?
All right, MTG
And,
Ryan, go ahead.
Well, I just have questions. I don't have answers. I want to know why this is the only card in the set that even like references Phyrexia.
I mean...
Like, Phyrexia's entire bit is that they are, like, this unstoppable monstrosity army that, like, there's always more of them and there's always, like, an endless...
They sent Vorinclex to scout, right?
Borg-esque. That's not a scout! Like, scouts are stealthy and, like, report back with information. This guy is here to...
It's got haste,
He
DJ.
has trample.
It has haste. How much faster do you want it to be?
Haste and trample.
He's gonna make like people are gonna be looking at their meat and their horn, and there's gonna be rings like in Jurassic Park.
Like, I want to know why this is
like, oh, that's a
the only
scout.
card.
I know that's classic scout. Anytime the whole village shakes, it's because there's a scout in the woods scouting.
Someone's
Cool
got a
lore
scout, I
podcast,
suppose.
guys.
Anyways, yeah, I don't know. Next up is Valky, the God of Lies. This does a whole bunch of stuff. It's also a Tybalt. It's $20 with a bunch of words. It's one side is choose a creature card exiled with Valky. With CMCX, it becomes a copy of it. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent reveals their hand. Each opponent exile a creature card they reveal until you lose your Valky / Tybalt. So this is quite the magic card, and it's $20, and it's second in the set. What do we think about the gods this time around?
I'm
Starting
surprised
with old Tybalt.
They're the best commanders, but the worst cards, right? Like they suck as gods, but like they're great as commanders.
I'm surprised. Yeah,
'cause, being a DFC like gives Valky additional color identity.
Mm-hmm.
It gives them additional utility. So like they're cool. They work great in the command zone. I just don't want to have a 2/1 on the board.
Yeah.
That dies and they just get their stuff back.
Well, I'm a little curious. I mean, I get why they had to break from the trend of gods being indestructible, because you can't have a pantheon of 45 gods and have them all be indestructible in a set. But so it just feels, it does make them feel less godlike, I guess. But I mean, I think some of them have constructed playability, and that's coming from somebody who has no knowledge of constructed playability. Like the coolest thing I've heard about this guy
actually,
is that
the Norse gods actually died, right? Like that was what Ragnarok was. Like Ragnarok would be boring if they couldn't get killed, probably, right? Like I don't know.
Agreed.
I've heard you can cascade into this guy and pick the 7-mana planeswalker, which is cute.
Ooh, that's value.
They just keep changing the back and forth on that. It's confusing. Can I do boom bust again? That's all I want. I just want to blood braid into a boom bust.
No, because those are on the same side. That's the way the rules break down, I think.
It's an important distinction.
Well, looking at the gods, we have the Tybalt Valky thing at $20. We've got Halvar at 8. We've got Torolf at 7. Allrund is 5. I mean, what do we think about any of them? Greg, do you see any of the gods that you think are going to be able to make a splash in Constructed at all?
Let's see. Well, I mean, the Tybalt seems alright to start out with. I mean, I don't know. It's like, what is it, like a brain mega type thing where it can only hit creatures? I mean,
Yeah,
it's not...
with somewhere
Oh,
left
it's only
side,
creatures?
Yeah.
Well, you get to play it, right? So that's
You get to play them, so-
Or
Well,
rather,
it's
make
a-
Valky.
Well, it becomes
make
a
Valky
copy of it.
Yeah.
And that seems okay. I mean, not super exciting, I guess, but
Maybe if you copy your opponent's Phyrexian Dreadnought, it's pretty good.
ooh.
Yeah, but you don't get an ETB trigger. It's
Like,
yeah.
You
copy
also
like the
can't, like, you can't... I don't like this card.
copy their Uro and
I don't love it either.
trigger it.
It's 100%
immediately.
could be my commander because
Copying
of how
Uro
good
is
the back
really
is.
funny. Because
Yeah,
then you
that's
just get all the upside.
That's quite a curve, I assume.
That's true. Yeah. That's a great point, actually. Turn 2, play your Valky, exile their Uro. Turn 3, turn it into an Uro attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, we're brewing here. We're brewing.
That's
What about the
interesting.
rest, though? I mean, what about
my favorite
Halvar's
decks
the
are the
other
ones that
sort of big
rely on
one?
my opponent to have an Uro.
Well, Jason, you're in luck because that's every format where it's legal.
Yeah, right.
It's just that easy.
What about Halvar? This is a big one, and it's $8 coming out of the gates here. This is the creature that the god,
the white one.
Yeah, 4 mana, 4/4 creatures you control that are enchanted or equipped have double strike. At the beginning of each combat, you can attach aura equipment to a target creature. So I'm just saying, Hammer Time is a deck in Modern. Just saying.
I mean, I keep going back to game design, but that's honestly just because I've like been super interested in game design over the past few months. But like it's really weird for me to see WotC double down so hard on auras and equipments as like red and white's thing when they've shown that that's like not a very successful archetype of like card.
They've got nothing
design.
else, man. That's the reality.
It's really well. I mean, they've branched out with Tybalt's trickery and stuff like that, and
They're trying, yeah.
The god of stormtelling or god of storytelling or whatever. Like they've branched out for red and white's mechanics a bit, but they just keep going back to ham fisting auras and equipments as like a thing. I don't know.
And you know what? It shows their lack of imagination. So when they're talking about good stuff coming for white, it just tells me that they're going to break the color pie. That's like the only thing I can think of.
I mean, if you look at, this is one of the more interesting developments over the last few years inside of Wizards design, I think, is their philosophy towards the color pie having changed a little bit and shifting the color pie a fair amount. So I think it's probably true that they have a lot of ideas for what to do, or rather have ideas for what to do with white or red or Boros as a combination. But in the meantime, you still have to put out Kaldheim and you still need your white god. So it's like, they just don't have enough things in white that they can kind of go to the well for, and that's why you see this one repeated so much. But this is a really powerful one for what it's worth.
How about limited resources on a creature? That'd be cool.
I mean, Jason, what do you think about these gods in Commander, though? I mean, as far as financially,
I will tell you, Essica, God of the Tree, is the third most built right now. Turgid is number 5. Valky's number 7. Toralf is number 9. So, like, Jorn is, 12? Halvar's 15. So, these gods are, in the top 15 most built commanders in the set. Like, Magda's number 1 with a bullet. Because, it was spoiled first and everyone's building the same boring dwarf deck. Toski's number 2 because it's a squirrel, but the stuff that people are actually super jazzed about, actually, innovating with, a ton of these gods are top 20 commanders in the set. And when you're top 20, that's a lot of cards. Well, there are 60 commanders in the set or something stupid like that. There's a lot of legendary creatures, so I think Turgid's going to be real boring. I think Essica is going to be just a bunch of people having an excuse to play a 5-color gods deck, which is fine. I'm building Valky. I think that's going to be cool. I think people like these gods, and I think they're going to continue to build around them. Because like I said, it's cool having additional color identity on the back. So you can have a mono green card that it's a 5-color deck. Essica is great design because it does mono green stuff on the front, but you can put it in a 5-color deck. So I think people are that's resonating with people. I think they're into it. I think the stuff's going to get built, and it's not going to matter for their prices, but Turgid and Essica are already making a ton of cards go up in price, like Toralf and Jorn also, So I think it doesn't really matter for them, but I think they're going to impact EDH quite a bit. It's going to change the format a little bit, especially Jorn.
Well,
because he's the snow guy, and people are like, well, I guess I'm playing all snow basics now.
Well, and what's interesting is you say that. You say that about Jorn, and it's a rare, but it's just $2, right? $2 to $3 for the God of Winter. I mean, $5 for the showcase one. You think it's something that we're going to see not just change EDH, but still be played in a couple years? Or played heavily?
Obeka's 50 cents. Your lock is 29 cents. Right? Gen is 25 cents. They're a rare, that gets built a ton. Its price doesn't matter. Obeka is far and away the most built Commander Legends. And like, I'm sure the etched foil is worth more than 50 cents, but like, still the etched foil is $5, for Obeka.
Yeah.
After 3 months. So yeah, I don't think these gods' prices are going to matter at all, but I think they're going to be important for the format, and they're going to make a bunch of other stuff worth money. But look, man, the entire set of Zendikar Rising is under $5. So
Yeah, I'm
to
right
pay
there with you on that.
$5 for this, for any reason other than I want it right now, just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, prices are just ruined forever now.
I really like the
What are you gonna
design of all the lands that have a multicolor ability.
Yeah, like which ones are you talking about?
I mean, all from a design. I haven't read any of the cards.
He's asking you to
Just
name
the
them.
idea of a land.
I like the fact that they are monocolor lands that come in tap that have a multicolor ability that scales into the late game. That is what I see when I see all of them, and I like that.
He's referring to...
It's the same as like Ifnu
Gates of
Rivulet and
Ithfel.
Ramenup Ruins
Yeah.
and stuff like that for monocolor, but they made them multicolored and you sack them. Like they're great.
So, like, in Limited, you can
They're
just,
cool.
like... Yeah, I don't know. They're not really splash.
I mean, I'm
because
sure a
they
couple of these are constructed
They have
playable.
double of the other color on the activation, which is rough. So, like, this would be your splash color. Like, if you're in a white deck, you could splash...
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a great
Yeah.
thing for them to add, because it is really historically, even when people were sort of asked to splash, if it's not a real cost, especially on like a land, they'll just do it. But these are cool. I like these. One of them being Port of Carfell. Enters battlefield tapped, add blue mana. 3 a blue and 2 black, so 6 total. Sack it. Mill 4 cards, then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. That's in blue. Wow.
That's
And black,
that's really
obviously.
solid for... These are going to be great in Limited, because, like, later in the game when you've got a real juicy target that's going to...
Oh wow, the Boros one does equipment stuff. That's cool.
I didn't even read it because I
That's
knew.
unexpected.
I literally didn't read it because I saw the word armory and I knew.
It seemed
Greg,
similar.
how do you feel about all this snow mechanics coming to standard or historic Pioneer? Take your pick. I mean, how do you look at all the snow stuff sort of in Magic? It is when you look at the snow in this set.
Well, I've always been a fan of scrying sheets, so I get to feel something nice, I suppose. I mean,
Yeah, that one seems like it might be up your alley.
none of the snow cards that I've seen seem like super exciting in terms of like, I don't know, like super powerful cards or anything, but
Mhm.
I mean, I haven't, I don't know, looked at them all super closely.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if snow makes a an appearance in standard. Do you plan on playing with?
But do you need more than, like, one or two... I'm sorry to interrupt. Do you
You're
need
fine.
more than, one or two snow cards to, like, have that be the critical mass to, like, okay, I'm shifting hard into snow and modern? Or have I already got, like, Ice Fang Coatl and stuff like that? Is Astrolab banned? I don't...
They
I
banned
Yeah.
Astrolab.
Yeah.
That makes sense. They should have done that.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing to do, I suppose.
I mean, it'll be
Consider-
interesting to see if snow, because the thing is, the snow decks in modern, Jason, it's basically they just play a couple of snow cards and snowlands because there's no downside to running snowlands.
Yeah, exactly.
And I see no downside to running snowlands of this set. So
There's one. It's not very playable, but there is one.
Yeah.
What is it?
Oh, your lands are coming
Do
to
you
play
remember?
tapped.
There's
they
there's
come
an
into play
angel
tapped?
that makes your lands come in tapped, yeah, but she costs 3 mana, so like it's too little, too late,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and the
It's-
card's not like strong enough on its own to justify like a super big slot.
I just love that they spent a year giving us all kinds of new basic land treatments in every possible way imaginable, and now everyone gets to play their non-full art. If they have them from Kaldheim anyway, snow
Yeah, my
basics.
pick of the week is extra planar lens because everyone's gonna be like, "Hey, why not? Why have I not been running snow lands and extra planar lens in every EDH deck my whole life? There's no downside."
Well,
They
the
really-
pick is extra planar lens so that you can just play normal basics, and then no one else will be playing normal basics, right?
That's a good point. Yeah, that's
That is a good
Thinking
point.
2 steps ahead.
Making some good points.
Oh man, I got thermokarsted out of that game so hard.
Nice.
Sorry, Ice
Nice
Age
stone
joke.
vein, I suppose.
All right, we've been telling you for a few weeks about our friends over at the Original Magic Art Store, and today we want to actually take that a step farther. we love what they've going on over there. We love the access to artwork. They now have over 100 artists on the website. It's a big achievement, and we have actually an affiliate account over there that gives you a discount. So if you are interested in any of those things we've talked about before, getting the prints of arts, getting play mats, any of the stuff you want, you can just go to originalmagicart.store/Brainstorm Brewery, or you can just add the discount code BrewCrew to your checkout at the store to save 10% on every order of $10 or more. So look, this is a great website that we are talking about because we really do think they do great work and love, as we've talked about before, what they've added to the market in terms of bringing art to people and connecting people with an aspect of Magic that they love. So a couple of the recent additions include Angel of Destiny, Knight of Autumn, Ugin, Valakut Awakening, Imri, lots of great stuff. So please go to originalmagicart.store/Brainstorm Brewery. Check out everything they have to offer. Okay, well, let's moving on down the list here. We've got another couple expensive ones, but this one stands out to me at $15 as probably the mythic that I see the most long-term just potential in. Goldspan Dragon. Flying Haste 4/4 for 5, which was already a pretty, that's the stats of a lot of playable standard dragons. But more than that, whenever Goldspan Dragon attacks or becomes the target of a spell, create a treasure. And as long as Goldspan Dragon is in play, treasures you control have tap, sack, add 2 mana. We've got a Dragon Treasure Lord here that also has Thundermaw Hellkite stats.
Adds 2 mana every turn.
Or not Thundermaw, maybe Glorybringer. Glorybringer stats.
Glorybringer.
Yeah.
And the one before that, Stormbreath. What I was actually thinking of. Yeah.
I mean,
so it's $15 right now. I think we all agree probably it's going to be cheaper before it becomes more expensive. But this is one I am looking at when it does come down in price. But what about standard? I mean, do you think that this is a competitive player, Greg?
well, just looking at it now, I mean, it doesn't seem as exciting as Glorybringer, since killing a creature is probably nicer. But I feel like, adding 2 mana is kind of sweet. I mean, I feel like that's why, Teferi, Hero of Dominaria was so good, right? Because, maybe the 2 mana was a bit, I don't know, undervalued or whatever, So,
yeah,
you could play this dragon, immediately play something else. I mean, it could be good.
Well, that's true, right? Because if they
have
have
tutors for it, but I don't know if there are enough dwarves in the set to... they could have given us a bunch of dwarves. All the berserkers could have been dwarves, and they're like, man.
Is there a combo deck with this?
That's what I was just... You can kind of
target
thinking
it yourself.
Because you target yourself.
Yeah.
So any kind of retrace, or not retrace, I guess. Maybe. Something you'd have to be able to cast from your graveyard repeatedly.
Yeah.
But it does just in Commander, right? Just treasure has become more and more a part of Magic over the past several years. And this is a mythic treasure lord.
I thought the same
that
thing
also happens to be a dragon.
I thought Leyline Tyrant was a card that would survive that would withstand the price massacre of the past
20,
year.
yeah.
I thought Leyline Tyrant was gonna chill at close to 10-ish just from casual commander demand. And I still don't think that card, that's one of the only cards in Zendikar Rising I have faith in long term. And
well, you're right about that. It's $3.50.
$3.
Seeing Goldspan at 15 makes me want to wait until it's $3.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, that's
it will
exactly
be.
where I'm at. I don't know how cheap it gets, but I know you're absolutely right. If Leyline Tyrant is $3 and Goldspan Dragon's not 15.
I can't imagine any prices being more later than they are right now unless someone's made a mistake. I think everybody undervalued the DFCs and they made a mistake there. Mm-hmm. Which is why we're seeing Balaged Recovery worth more than 3/4 of the rares in the set because people just undervalue DFCs. I don't know if there's anything in this set that, looking at the pre-sale prices, that people are really making a huge mistake where it's 50 cents and it should be $5. I don't really see any cards like that.
Yeah, is there anything that's caught your eye, Greg, that we haven't talked about yet that you're looking forward to casting and constructed?
Um, well, let's see. I already talked about that little wrath. Let's see. There's a little Scry X, Draw X.
I thought you might
Or
like.
no, Draw 3. Right.
Have you seen Behold the Multiverse? This one seemed up your alley.
Ooh, which one is that?
It's at the bottom of all the blue cards on Mythic Spoiler if you're scrolling down, but it's 4 mana, instant, scry 2, draw 2. This would have been the Glimmer, I suppose you were talking about, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that card seems sweet. I mean, Glimmer is a reasonable card, although a little bit expensive, and this one's cheaper.
Yeah,
sometimes.
This thing seems crazy good to me.
Yeah.
This is what I look at. This is what I like when I look at
Splitting 4 mana up over 2 turns as a blue-white control deck is just dirty.
Teferi.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert on historic blue-white control or whatever, but that deck does a lot with Teferi.
Yeah, that's a good way to spend 2 mana.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk a lot about Fertel. It's great. All right, let's move on to the other planeswalkers we haven't talked about, including Kaya. Right, this is a big one. Kaya the Inexorable, 5 mana, put 5 loyalty, black white. Put a ghost form counter on one target non-token creature when it dies or is put in exile. Return it to its owner's hand and make a flying spirit. That's a +1 for -3. You can exile target non-land permanent. And -7, you get an emblem with the beginning of your upkeep. You can cast a legendary spell from your hand, graveyard, or among cards you own in exile without paying its mana cost. Wait, so that doesn't include commanders, or does it? Own in exile? Is that what Command Zone counts as?
No, Command Zone is
No.
not. That's a separate game zone.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
I'm confused by why this card does what it does.
I think that's a reasonable way to look at that.
I like this +1 a lot, though. That's pretty sick.
Yeah, this is a $6 pre-sale planeswalker. It is. I assume it flavor is essentially why it's somewhat like this. I mean,
well, why does she cast legendary spells?
I don't know.
Because she's inexorable. You can't exorpect her to. This is the 7th most played card right now. If you sort by percentage of eligible decks, the Pathway lands obviously are more. The World Tree's more, and Realm Walker, which, okay, whatever, is more. But, like, Kaya is a top 10 card currently. It's above Toski and Magda and all the dual Snowlands and Vorinclex and Goldspan and Elvish Ambush. It's above all that stuff. So, like, people are the decks that are going to run this. And you can click on it on EDHREC and see what decks those are. Running it as a creature, or running it just as like a planeswalker. I don't know. I think like Teysa, Karlov, and stuff like that, where you're sacking something that +1 is going to be solid, and then you should build to that ultimate fairly quickly, or have like 3 turns in a row where you exile something. I think it's a solid card. I don't know if $7 is incorrect, but like as far as EDH is concerned, I think it's pretty playable.
What about standard?
I mean, it seems reasonable. I guess it probably depends on how good that first ability turns out to be. But I mean, it's the classic like Ob Nixilis Planeswalker, where it's just like, +1 for some value, -3 to kill a thing. Ultimate that, probably gets the job done, I suppose.
That's a good comparison, actually, is Ob Nixilis at the 5 mana spot.
Yeah.
I do like the
Are
flavor, at least.
you playing a ton of creatures in a deck like this, where like you have like one finisher, you slap the ghost armor on it, and then like you either Wrath with Impunity or just like...
I just assume you'd rather play
basically
Ashiok,
counter removal
right?
spell.
Would you rather play Ashiok at 5 than Kaya?
Yeah, Ashiok probably is a little bit better, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's some black-white, value creature deck. Like, the ability seems kind of sweet if your, like, creature does something when it comes into play or whatever, you get to...
Yeah, if you have some kind of... if you end up with, like, Aristocrats or, type-looking deck, could work. The other Planeswalker is Nico Ari. It is a X Planeswalker. This is a real interesting one. So X white, blue. Starts with 3. It's got another. Well, it's actually got a triggered ability. This is the first triggered ability we've seen on a planeswalker. Maybe ever. I don't know. Garruk Relentless, I guess. But whenever Nico Ari's in his battlefield, create X shard tokens. They're enchantments with 2 mana. Sacrifice this enchantment, scry 1, then draw.
They're super clues.
Super clues. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. +1
Clues.
up to 1 target creature you control can't be blocked. When it deals combat damage this turn, return it to its owner's hand. -1, it deals 2 damage to target tap creature for each card you've drawn this turn. And -1, create a shard token. This is a weird planeswalker.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. I mean, 3 mana is a pretty low cost for a planeswalker, so you never know.
Yeah.
I mean, it could sometimes kill a thing when it comes into play. So, I mean, I don't know. It could see something maybe.
It comes down and it can create a shard token immediately, so it's even if it were to go away, it would be card neutral eventually.
I've never wanted
Killing something on a -1 just seems real solid.
Yeah.
Potentially, if you could draw enough cards.
But on the other hand, I've never wanted to pay 3 times as much for a Sphinx's Revelation.
Yeah, I mean, it's just extra flexibility, I suppose. If you have extra mana, I mean, you can pay it. But I guess it's kind of interesting that if you have, 7 mana, you could pay only 2 more and then, sack one of them right away or something. I don't know.
There has to be more powerful stuff you can do, right?
Well,
It just feels like this is a 3-mana walker that scales well into the late game. If you draw it late or play it late,
Maybe.
If you're on the play and kill something on turn 3 with it, kill their 2-drop with its -1, and then you get more minuses for free.
This is
after that.
2020. Two drops don't have 2 toughness anymore.
I mean, you know what? That's a reasonable point.
Yeah.
This is 2021,
They're
but the
4
rest of that
toughness
was
when they
reasonable.
have flying and first strike.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not, super exciting, but, you never know. But, I mean, 3 mana is not a lot for a planeswalker, and it has some weird abilities. Definitely has a lot of them, so...
Yeah, whenever I look at a spoiler, I pretty much just play the game of can I find a card without flavor or without rules text?
Oh my
Right, just
god!
the-
When
I
this
think
is
there's one. I think there's
$70
one.
and everyone's on Twitter like, "Oh, look at me! I didn't know that a 3-mana walker with 4 relevant abilities would be a good card." This is just us getting dunked on in 4 months when this is banned. Jeez.
I think that the removal ability being a -1 instead of a -2 is huge there, because it means you could in theory kill their creature on turn 3, untap on turn 4, play your Suspended Wrath, and then you just get to make shard tokens or whatever for the rest of the game. But it also is kind of capped if you don't have creatures or a lot of mana. It's a really interesting design. All right, well, let's talk about Jason's favorite card next then. Another god. It is Tergrid, the god of fright.
Ugh.
The 5 mana 4/5 with menace. Whenever an opponent sacks a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, you can put it from the graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. This, you can let me know if I'm wrong, Greg. I assume this is not a standard player, but this is an EDH masterpiece.
I think
by
this
the
is
way, it has
super
another
fair
ability on the backside.
outside of the command zone. I think it's going to be miserable if this is the deck you're built around. But if you throw this in some sort of Dictate of Erebos deck, it'll be just fair. It'll give you a little bit of upside. People will probably try to kill it before you get anything out of it. I think this is super fair outside the command zone and miserable in the command zone.
I think this is absurdly powerful even outside of the this is. There's a reason It That Betrays costs 16 mana, and this is that for less than a half, and it also benefits you when they discard, which is easier to get than making them eat it. This card just seems nuts. And it has the backside if you ever need that for some reason. I don't know.
And the backside is cool, actually.
Absurdly powerful. I'm surprised you're so medium on it, outside the command zone.
I'm not medium on it. I think it's fair, and I don't hate it. I am looking forward to playing it, is what I'm saying. I think it's going to be a miserable toxic card because it's going to make you be like, how many bottomless pits can I fit in this stupid mono black bullshit deck?
Yep.
But if you throw this in if you throw this in a Dictate of Erebos deck, I have a bunch of decks that run Dictate effects. It's actually just really brutal, and I like it, but it's fair versus being really toxic in the command zone.
You play any Commander, Greg?
I have played Commander, actually. Not a ton
really?
recently, but yeah. And
What's your commander?
The last one I used was what? Why can't I remember? Azusa. That was a while ago.
Oh gosh, mono green.
Yeah. I had like a Teneb the Harvester deck like a long time ago.
Yeah, that was my first ever deck actually. Was the
Yeah.
Harvester. I love that one.
Same.
I was playing that in standard. 10 decks in standard. That was fun.
That was Time Spiral Block, right?
Yeah.
Or was it
Yeah.
before that? Okay. That was in standard, really? Like that was playable in standard?
There was a Brian.
Yeah,
there was a
you
whole
were just
Brian
the
Kibler
rock,
Dragons
right?
deck.
It was a rock deck.
Oh, sure.
That
Like
was
Brian
your
Kibler played
that-
Rith the Awakener in standard too. Well, that was Invasion, but that was different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The point is, those dragons are playable.
That was when nobody had an answer for Armadillo Cloak. And
Yeah.
Kibler's
Yeah,
like,
that-
"Do you have an 8 trample lifelink? You got anything?" And they're like, "I forgot to have removed."
Pretty big.
It's Invasion.
Teneb was my first commander deck, and I turned it into Carador, and it is my favorite.
Ooh.
Turgid though is $12. What? It's a rare too. It's not a myth.
Yikes!
How low does it go?
5.
Under
I mean, is
five?
this the one that says $5 though, Jason?
No.
I don't. Again, it's
DJ's on
price.
record with a no.
Its price doesn't matter. Like if you look at the Commander Legends, if you look at Zendikar Rising, the most built rare commanders are a couple bucks. Like Turgid's not going to be over 5 on the basis of being the 5th most built EDH deck, right? It would have to do something in a lot of formats, and I don't think it will.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
Yeah,
I think a lot of this stuff is just like a sell, at its current price. I think you want to be like busting a bunch of boosters and pre-selling them on TCG Player if you're doing anything. I don't think you want to be trying to speculate on singles. So like, if you can wait.
That
Yeah.
horse looks really interesting. I haven't. This is the first time I'm reading this card. 4 mana, 3/3 flash flying. And it has foretell for 3, so you can technically pay 1 extra to foretell it. Foretelling cards from your hand cost 1 less and can be done on any player's turn. That seems really strong.
The Foretell Lord. Oh, on any player's turn?
Yeah.
Wow, that
Yeah.
is.
It just
Very
changes how foretell works
That's
entirely.
interesting.
I'm looking for
Is
this.
this card nuts?
Which card is that?
Cosmos Charger. It is a 4 mana 3/3 flash flying a horse spirit that has like a bunch of other words on it that involve the foretell mechanic. And it scales really well. It synergizes very well with the glimpse card, draw card, and the wrath.
What was the mana cost of this one?
It's a 4 mana 3/3 flash flyer. Flash being the important word there.
Yeah. Blue White Flash, here we come.
Yeah, so is the foretell cost the first 2 or the second cost?
Foretelling a card is the first cost you pay. So when you foretell it, you're paying the
2.
2 mana.
That is a very good. This is I am curious to see, because we see this with every standard set or rotation. You look at stuff and you're like, man, I could figure out a god deck, or I'll figure out a giant deck, I'll figure out a snow deck. And then the rogues deck from the last format, which is just perfected, just runs you over. So that's kind of it's interesting when they moved away from the block model into the single set model. You have some sets or mechanics or things that just completely disappear. It just you never see again.
Mhm.
Kind of like how at the beginning of Ikoria standard we saw mutate decks a little bit, and now no one ever thinks about mutating a creature, right? As a deck, no one's like, I'm going to build a mutate deck.
Yeah.
And I
Wasn't super exciting, I suppose.
right, like I hope that we have a standard where people can play rogues and play these other things. I do worry that we do a set review, we look at cool stuff, and then we never get to talk about it again because we still get posed by last year's powerful cards or whatever.
Like it's cool within the context of just the set, but not within the context of standards. Just
bring
trash.
back block constructed. Is what I'm hearing.
Block constructed was some of the most fun I've had playing constructed Magic.
There's some cool decks
Hashtag
in Block.
Freeland Civvy.
Do you miss the old block constructed at the Pro Tour, Greg?
I guess I played it once. It was my first one I did in Avison Restored, and I did not go well.
That's where they actually banned Lingering Souls, right?
And Intangible Virtue.
And Intangible Virtue.
Yeah, my deck was.
I think that was what killed block as a format. Actually, it was like that miserable experience. A couple years later, they killed it.
Bind the Monster looks like a nuts card in multiple formats.
Read that one to us.
It is a 1-mana blue aura enchant creature. When Bind the Monster enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature. It deals damage to you equal to its power. Enchanted creature does not untap during its untap step.
Sure.
Like, this seems legacy playable.
I don't know. I mean,
tap their Emrakul.
Ooh, what a steal!
I mean, you can't. I don't think you can do that, but 'cause it has protection.
Depends which Emrakul, doesn't it?
And
that
you can do what you
true.
want.
True.
Actually, protection. Yeah, Emrakul only has protection from instant.
Well, I was thinking of the one that has protection from colored spells,
instants,
but,
colored spells. I'm trying to remember.
But this, like, you can tap like all the 1-drops in Legacy and ruin people's days.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's probably more of like a reasonable removal spell for drafts and such, I would guess.
Why would
but I
you
don't
play
know.
this
And
when you
maybe
can
it's
play Mind Harness?
Because this pitches to Force of Will.
I don't even know Mind Harness. See, it does pitch.
This could
The
this
old-
is Swords
the
of
old
Plowshares that
argument.
pitches to Force of Will. Am I crazy?
I would say this, DJ. They have made cards like this in the past in blue. I think that this is one of the better ones. But there's like a real cost to if you're playing against an aggro deck where this is good or whatever, right? It probably hurts to play this on turn 2 and take 2 or 3 for your removal spell as opposed to a different removal spell.
Well, do
right?
aggro decks exist in Legacy?
Yeah.
I can't speak to Legacy.
I don't know.
Delver.
Delver's not an aggro deck. Delver's a tempo deck.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's no Swords to Plowshares, I suppose, but, I don't know, it gets the job done some of the time. I mean, it's awkward if they have a creature that has, like, an ability, or they, like, bounce their guy or something. I guess there's probably not that much of that going on in Legacy. I guess you could bounce it like Jafari or something, I don't know.
I don't even know is Oko legal in Legacy anymore? Or is that banned?
Yes.
Is Uro legal in Legacy?
Yes.
I don't care about it. Get back to me in 6 months when they ban those 2 cards out of Magic.
Yeah, no need.
I think we've all seen the tweet going around of Uro winning standard. I think it's been banned at standard already. Historic, Pioneer, Modern, Vintage, Legacy all last week or something insane. That card is not long for this world.
Yeah, it does do it all, basically.
I hope that this set, and I look at this set, and I don't see any Uros. I don't see any Omnas. Now, they probably...
You don't see Coma Cosmos Serpent because, I don't know if you read that. At the beginning of each upkeep, Corbin, that's each player's upkeep. You get a 3/3 blue Serpent.
For
creature
all your
token in
4-player
Coma's play.
standard games.
If you're playing Kitchen Table, Coma Cosmos Serpent, better than Uro because it's a 6/6.
You're right about that. As a matter of... Wait, isn't Uro a 6/6?
It's got 6 toughness, I suppose.
Coma Cosmos Serpent. It can't be countered. 3, 2 green, and 2 blue, so 7 mana.
Don't read it and embarrass me for making a joke.
I never read it.
You're like rubbing my nose in the fact that I tried to do
I
a
skimmed
bit.
over it the first time, and now I'm curious if we can make this argument for it.
Which card?
Of course, it's
Sacrifice another serpent. How many serpents do we have?
We have changelings.
you have
With just the changelings?
it makes serpents, man.
I like
It's
it.
a
I like
7-mana creature. You're embarrassing both of us now.
it. 7-mana creatures is what Commander is supposed to be about, Jason. That's what it's
Look who you're
supposed
telling.
Corbin doesn't play 7-mana creatures. He plays 10-mana sorceries that don't end the game.
Ugh,
Sometimes,
he plays
yeah.
7 Wrath of Gods for creatures.
I do play a lot of Wraths.
Right,
Here's a
nice.
card that we want to get on before we run out of time here. Realm Walker is a card we talked about when we first saw it. Is in its battlefield, choose a creature type, look at the top card at any time, you can play it. And we said that $5 was Vizier of the Menagerie, and this was worse than Vizier of the Menagerie, or close to it. And yet this card has climbed from its bottom of $2, $3, where it was for a while, and it's climbed up over 6, over 7 now as a rare. What are we? Is this just? Do we think this is just kind of some hype that's going to die back down, or did we miss something here, or what?
I told you it's the 6 most played card on EDH currently. Go ahead, Greg. I'm sorry.
People like tribal stuff. I don't know.
That about sums it up for me. People like tribal stuff. Coat of Arms is an expensive card for a reason.
I mean, it seems like a reasonable card in your elf deck or whatnot. It's like Corship, but for elves. That's some value.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I mean it's actually just worse, with the exception of costing 1 less mana. The ability itself is just worse than Vizier of the Menagerie, a $5 mythic. So I'm inclined to think that this card goes down before it goes up. Like, I'm inclined to think it goes down 30% more than it goes up 30%. And it's probably a $4 or $5 card from this set.
I mean,
if that. But
3 mana is kind of a big deal, right? You can collect a company into it. That's kind of sweet.
Well, that's
right?
true. That's true. You know what? I didn't think about the collected company angle. I don't know if that would quite be... Like, it's so hard to say that something like that, when we look at prices, it's so hard to figure out. Is that really driving the price? Collected company and Pioneer, no one's playing paper. Like, yeah, it's just hard. You're absolutely right, though. Like, that sounds like a way it could be played in a way that it is better than Vizier that we hadn't thought about.
I mean, there was that Banned Spirits deck, I guess. It's probably not a super exciting card in there, but I don't know, maybe it could be kind of sweet.
Yeah, maybe it's got to be something.
Man,
I don't know. Well, it's something to keep an eye on.
I want to cast a Spell Queller from the top of my deck now.
Yeah, get him.
That sound kind of sweet. And you know what? It is a shapeshifter. You know what? That's maybe something that we missed.
It's a spirit, you mean?
Yeah. Well, that may be the factor that really does differentiate it from Vizier of the Menagerie, is that it is a shapeshifter and therefore it itself benefits from all.
You mean changeling? Shapeshifter is a creature type. Changeling is a keyword, Corbin.
You're right. Well, I was both. That's right. Well, that's an interesting one, and I wanted to bring it up so that we didn't miss it after we talked about it in the past. So I think it's possible then that the changeling part of that card matters more than we gave it credit for. So something to keep an eye on. All right. Well, I think we've hit on most of the big ones here. Why don't we talk about everyone's favorite legendary land? Oh, wait. It's the World Tree.
Ooh.
Or a World Tree? I want to have 4 of the World Trees in play.
At least it doesn't have a name like Valakut the Molten Pinnacle.
I agree. We had Gavin Verhey on this podcast recently. You should go check it out. We talked a lot about some of this stuff, and I think the World Tree might have been mentioned. But for those who don't know, the World Tree is a land from Kaldheim. It enters tapped. It is not legendary. It adds a green. However, it has this ability. As long as you control 6 or more lands, lands you control can add 1 mana of any color. And then for 10 mana, 2 of each color, you can sacrifice the World Tree, search your library for any number of gods, and put them into play. So it's a $14 land that has gone up in price over the past week or so. But what is your guys' take on the World Tree as a whole when you look at this thing?
Anytime something costs door to nothing this mana, it sells very well on Amazon.
That's exactly what I was thinking about.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's certainly very splashy. I don't know if you get up to that amount of mana. I guess it also lets you cast, or gives you all the colors for it as well. So
yeah, it's just so almost free, right? The fact that it enters tapped. After that, it's just a forest with upside.
It's another chromatic.
But in Commander, this is a really big deal.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about.
But it can only go in 5 color
issues.
decks in Commander. It's real limited in what it can go in.
Yeah.
But of those limited decks, it's in almost half of them.
Yeah, and it feels like it'll be in, all of them moving forward because it is so powerful. The ability to just put all the gods into play at instant speed, I might add. Your Mazes End type decks are gonna like the World Tree here. I assume it's safe to say that there's no way this really breaks through to Constructed, right?
It is a lot of mana, but I mean, I guess if you were playing a deck that had some gods, didn't really mind playing a tap forest, and planned on going to the late game, maybe you could. If all those things are happening.
Check all those boxes. It's pretty free, but
Why is Uro not a god?
Also a good question. He's a Titan.
I know, but why is he not a god?
Yeah, Uro should do more things. Why does it not do enough things? That's my question.
It would die to deicide then. Come on.
Yeah, that'd be very rude.
I think DJ. I was thinking about DJ's point earlier about the indestructible.
Corbin, also,
clause
it wouldn't die to deicide because deicide only exiles enchantments.
Oh,
deicide is a disenchant. Then if the enchantment is a god, then it does the other stuff. But
that's dumb. Should just say exile target god.
Well, they weren't planning ahead, were they?
No, they were not doing a very good job planning ahead. Like when they made the world tree not legendary.
I mean, I can empathize with Gavin on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I agree. I understand. but it's like, has legendary as a keyword just outlived its usefulness outside of commander? If we're not putting legendary on the world tree, what is the point of the word?
Like, it's a balance tool for constructed, but it's a flavor thing for commander. It's interesting.
It's not in a good spot, right? If you were building Magic from the ground up, it doesn't really make a lot of sense the way that it is. It means different things to different parts of the game.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I think I pretty much hit on the ones, certainly, that were on my list. Is there anything else from the set that you all want to touch on? I think we hit the big ones.
Like, bringing sagas back is another good design choice.
Yeah, people like sagas.
I think these ones are mostly pretty low power level. I keep joking that I haven't read the cards. I did read all the sagas, mostly because the art's really cool. But
mostly because you want this to be a lore podcast. You're like, I have to know all the lore from the sagas.
I don't care too much for Kaldheim.
I have to know who King Narfi betrayed, otherwise I'm going to look like an idiot.
I don't care too much for Kaldheim's lore. Phyrexia's lore I'm very interested in, but I did read all the sagas. Now. I do think they're all reasonably low power level to the point where, like, I thought that some of the rare ones were uncommon, and then I was like, oh, these are rare. This is pretty yikes. But, like, sagas in general are a very good, like, design, and they are they promote very healthy gameplay, and I like them.
Yeah. Jason, anything stands out to you want to touch on?
I mean, all the stuff I like is like not going to matter financially. So, like, if you want to talk about what I'm excited about as an EDH player, that's outside the scope of this podcast and like won't matter. And I'm just sort of disappointed that collector boosters have just like ruined everything forever, right? Like,
I hadn't fully realized, honestly, until this episode, a little bit the last one, how much the collector booster experience sort of remove some of the drama from sets coming out.
Yeah.
Because it's like, even if you get surprised and something hits, it's got a built-in ceiling that is much lower than it used to be. But Greg, what about you? Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you're particularly looking forward to casting?
Let's see. How about that Brime staff? Is that sweet?
Let's see.
Is that the back of Jorn?
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. So the front side is the Jorn. Jason mentioned it earlier. Whenever it attacks, untap each snow permanent you control. 3/3 for 3. The back side, though, 3 mana artifact, 1 blue and a black. Called Ring the Rime Staff. You can play target snow permanent card from your graveyard this turn. If you do, it enters tap. Yeah, this one's pretty good. This one is pretty strong.
I don't know. It could be kind of sweet, right? Both.
I mean, the fact that there's no mana cost associated
the fact
with
that
that
there's no
huge.
mana cost is huge per turn.
You know nothing, Jorn Snow.
Well, it can play lands too, which is
true.
Big.
Mm-hmm.
Playing lands is huge with this card, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you have snow stuff in your graveyard, you can tap it and draw a card.
So, one more time to understand, if this is in the 99, your deck has to be Soul Tie, right?
Yes. No. Well, I mean, in order to have this in the 99, your deck has to be Soul Tie, yes.
Okay. It's both sides that matter, not just the front side for anybody.
Correct.
Yeah, you can't
Wasn't
play
positive.
this in mono green.
Yeah, this seems like a powerful one, and certainly a tool for control snow decks should they come to exist.
Man, I remember in like 2009 when I was a casual player and I tried to make a snow deck.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't end great. Like it was.
Did you shred some stuff though, DJ? Did you do it?
My top end was like Hydar Rhymewind Master or whatever the Cold Snap legend was. Like it.
Yeah.
And if you assembled the 5-mana 3/3 and untapped with it, you could start boomeranging permanents, and it did not survive the onslaught of my friend's Zendikar era vampire deck with Bloodghast. I will say that much.
Yeah, that was actually a pretty powerful standard deck even too at the time. That vampires deck. All right, well everybody, I'm sure we missed something. If you want to hear about a card that we didn't talk about today, we're not going to give you a 3-hour set review. Just let us know in the comments on YouTube. Let us know on Twitter. You can go to patreon.com/BSB and give us some feedback directly there if you want. We'll definitely listen to it that way. And then we can touch on them next week. So one more time, Greg, thank you so much for coming on the show.
No problem.
And
That was nice.
let people know if they want to follow more of your content or just to follow your magic exploits on the internet, where can they do so?
Let's see. I'm at orange_Greg on Twitter. Citrus Assassin on Twitch, I suppose. I don't
That's
know.
such a good Twitch handle. That's a good Twitch
It is a
handle.
good one.
Yeah.
It's great. All right. Well, thanks again, man. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Enjoy Kaldheim. Do so responsibly in light of the pandemic. Stay safe out there, everybody. This is Brainstorm Brewery. We'll see you next week.